Hello, everybody. Welcome to week 3 of our webinar series. Today, we're going to be talking about event management and production. We're going to give it another minute. We already have several people that have joined us, so we're just going to give it another minute or two as people are joining. As a reminder, today, this session is specifically on the catering slash venue slash rental side. We're going to be really focusing on those pieces today. If you are a florist, that's okay. You can hang out, but just keep an eye out for the floral webinar that we did earlier today that really focused on floral pieces. But we are excited. We're going to give it one more minute and then we're going to launch. While we're getting ready to go, you might grab something to drink or grab your notepad. We're going to be talking about a lot of tips today. Take advantage of this minute to get prepared, get in gear before we go over some pieces together. All right, I hear our music kind of winding down here. So we are going to get started. Welcome to our Level Up with Curate webinar series. Just a reminder, my name is Shannon. I'm the self-proclaimed Curate guru, Curate expert. We're joined by Brooklyn today, and she's one of our product managers here at Curate. She helps manage a lot of those pieces that kind of come into the system. All the good stuff that you see in the system, a lot of that originates. Brooklyn had a hand in all of that. We've also got Rain today. He's our chat hero. Many of you know Rain from the chat bubble. He is real. Rain really exists. I give him a hard time for his dog picture. He's not a dog, he is a person who really loves dogs. Rain is going to be helping us in chat today. So, if you have any questions while we're walking through, feel free to throw them in chat. Even throw pieces that you're excited about. A lot of times people will send over things that they're saying, "Oh, I love this feature," or "I didn't realize that was a feature," or "This is so exciting," something that they really like. Even share those things because we like to grab those and share them with our team. We only have a small number of people that are actually customer facing. A lot of our team is in the back end working hard every day to provide this experience. So we like to share those positive things with them so that they can see the impact that they're having on our customers' lives. All right. Before we jump in, just like always, you can share your product feedback on our customer portal. That's where we get all of our great ideas. Most of the cool things that happen in Curate, they come because a customer talked to us about something that they wanted. So share those things with us with that link. We share that link regularly. It's in the follow-up email. You can also join our Curate community. So regularly we get asked, what do other people do? And we'll talk about a lot of those things today. But the Curate community is where you can engage with other people that are what I call power users. They heavily use the system to manage their event flow, everything that they do with their event flow. You'll use that there. Just a reminder, if you attend at least 4 out of the 5 sessions, we will send over a Curate certification. So it's just kind of a cool honor. You can even use that, put it on your resume because it is not something that we offer very often. This is a special situation. So if you do attend 4 out of the 5, um, we will be sending over a Curate certification for you. Like I said, feel free to drop any of your questions or anything right into the chat. We'll kind of keep an eye on that. For today, what we're going to be going over, let me click over to the next page. The main thing that we're covering today is event management and production. So we're diving into the nitty gritty of what really goes into an event, preparing for an event, making sure that your team stays on track. Now, on today's call, we're not really focusing on team management, integrating with your team. We're not really focusing on that. but that does kind of interlace with everything that we do in this system, managing your team, making sure that everybody's on the same page. But what we're going to work on today is we're going to start with the production elements in the proposal. We're going to hit on line item categories. It's a common question. Why do I want to use line item categories? This is a big area for caterers and for venues. That's a big area. So we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk a little bit about staffing, which is an add on, as well as rentals. That's another add on that we offer in the system. We're going to be talking about those today, showing off how you would use those, why you would use those. We're going to touch a little bit on recipes. Now, kind of depending on what you do, there are some caterers that manage their recipes in the system. I'm going to talk a little bit about why you would want to do that, how you would use that, some tips that I have from people who successfully use the system to manage their recipes and reduce that time building their shopping lists. The other thing that we have is going to be some production notes. So, really, that's that part about managing your team, helping everybody stay on track, making sure that we have everything together that we need for this event. The other piece that we're going to talk about is going to be on that overview tab, pieces that are there that can help you with your production process. We're going to segue into prints. So, different ways that you may want to look at that data, utilize that data. We're going to talk about that with prints. And then we are going to talk about the catalog, ways that you can use the catalog, ways that you can update the catalog, some nitty gritty pieces that are in there. So, all right, let's dive in. Like I said, feel free to throw your chats over here into the box. And we've got Rain, we've got our team here to help. So I'm going to pop over here. We are going to be in this event that we started working on last week. Now, I did a few things to kind of take us a little bit further, but I want to show off some pieces that are in here. All right. The main thing that we're going to be focusing on today is going to have start in the order section. So what I did here, I started a new like framework. Whenever you are first sending over a proposal to your customer, you may not go into details about the actual food that you will be preparing for them. Sometimes, if you have a very specific menu pricing that you use, you may agree upon the menu price, but not go into the selections until you're further along in your journey. That's pretty normal. So we started building out our venue and catering package that's right here. We've got bar service as a possibility, the different items that could go into that. We'll say that this customer did decide to move forward with us, and we wanted to go ahead and put together their entrees and sides that they would be choosing for those. All right. Um, in here, we're going to start with the entrees. So I'm going to go here and I'm going to click this import from catalog button right here. I have a filter on, so let me do my filter. In this box, I can have my tags showing right here, but you'll notice that I have a tag for my entrees. So I did an upload. Brooklyn is going to talk about uploads more towards the end over there, but I did a tag for my entrees, and then I can filter by that tag because I just want to look at my entrees right there. Let me see. There it is right there. I just want to look at my entrees. So that pulls up everything with my entrees. It also pulls up if there's any sort of like dietary things that I should be aware of, that I should be looking for, as well as more of like a theme for that food that would kind of go in there. Give me just a second. And so that's going to pull up those items that really go in there. So I'm going to choose a few items to show this customer for things that they could pick for this event. So let's go ahead and go with the grilled salmon. I like grilled salmon, so we're going to choose that one. Classic herb roasted chicken breast. We're going to choose 4 or 5. Let's go with the chicken parmesan, baked ziti, and barbecue brisket. Okay. I was able to just quickly choose items that I had already chosen to put into the system. All right, now I'm going to add those. Okay. Now, I made a mistake when I did the upload. I did not put a category on them, but I'm going to go ahead and put a category on these items, and we're going to call them food. We're going to do food items right here. Okay. Now you may be asking, what is the benefit of having a category on your items? What's the benefit of that? That can kind of touch a lot of different things. There are a few benefits to using that. It really touches a lot of different things. Number one, whenever you have a category on there for whatever it is, in your reporting, it will do a breakdown for you for where that revenue comes from. Now, I can say I'll talk to 10 different caterers and I'll see 10 different ways that they'll set up their proposals. So it really is dependent on how you set up your proposals, how you structure your events for how you would utilize this. For my example today, I am not showing pricing or adding pricing or quantity for their entree choices here. I'm not adding those. But it does mean for my menu, I need to make sure that I do have a category of food because I want that to pull up appropriately. So on my reporting, it'll say this is the revenue that came from food, this is the revenue that came from rentals, this is the revenue that came from beverage. Then you can do a breakdown. Now, I'm a data person. I will jump into the Excel sheet with you any day of the week. What you can do there is you can pull up what is the average percentage of food on my recipes? What is the average percentage of revenue that comes from rentals? What's the average percentage that comes from beverage? That helps you know what's normal to lead and guide your team or yourself and knowing, hey, why are we so much down in beverages in this last 6 months? Or why are our numbers down, in certain way? That is one way that you can use that category to inform what you're working on. The other thing that you would use this category for is those calculated properties. So I'm going to go back up here, but we talked about this. We did already talk about this, but I'm going to go down here to one of my calculated properties to this service fee right here. I have it applying to my beverage items, my floral items, and my food. It is not applying to my rentals. It is not applying to my admin items. It's not applying to all those pieces. It is just applying to my beverage, my florals, and my food. So that helps you to get a better delineation between what you want that percentage to be applied to or discount. You can use those also for discounts. What things are we doing discounts on? You can do that with your categories. Generally, with your categories, you want them to be broad. Tags can be very narrow. How I had like an entree tag, that's narrow. Categories you want to be broad: food, even food and beverage, or F&B, um, rentals, admin, very basic, broad categories. The other place that those properties come into those categories come into play is going to be on your prints. So Brooklyn will kind of show off this a little bit later when we get to prints, but you can filter down your list. So in this case, we're covering a lot of things for this customer. We're covering food, we're covering beverage, we're covering floral, we're covering planning, we're covering rentals. But maybe I just need to make a sheet for my kitchen. I need to make a BEO for my kitchen. I don't need to show the floral or the planning or the rentals. The kitchen does not need to see that. And most chefs do not want to see that. They don't want to know, okay? You can filter down that print to only show items that are of the food category or food and beverage category to give over to your team whenever you're ready to start prepping for this event. That can be another place. One more place that I do see for the categories is going to be with tax profiles. One example of how to use your tax profile is based on the category. So let me hop over there just so that you can see what I have already set up in the system right here. I'm going to go down to my settings over here, and I'm going to go to my profitability and accounting. All right. Now I've got several tax rates that could be applicable, but I'm more interested in my tax profile. This allows me to set a profile where it informs what the tax is for that item depending on the category. So this is the one that I'm using right now. My venue tax profile. If it's a food item, it's going to be taxed at 11.18%. If it's a beverage, it's going to be taxed at that 12.68 because I need to charge an additional tax for alcoholic beverages. Otherwise, it's going to come in at 9.68%. So that allows you to more fluidly pull in items that you may want to uh, pull into your proposal and have that tax rate automatically applied to those items on there. Okay. I'm going to give a quick example of that on here. So let me pull this up. Give me just a second. I'm going to give a quick example. Right. Okay. So I'm going to give a quick example here. So on this event, I've got this normal St. Louis tax profile. That does not include those breakdowns as what I just set into place. I'm going to change this to that venue, the venue tax profile, because that has got specifics for food, for beverage. I'm going to change that in here. Now, my event already exists, so if I have already added items, that tax rate is going to apply as what I already had. It's not going to change any tax rates that already exist. But now let's pull in a few sides. So I'm going to import from my catalog. I'm going to clear my filter and I'm going to look up a tag for my sides here. Okay. So that allows me to, I'm going to choose some items. So let's do green beans, mashed potatoes, carrots, just give them a few things that they can choose from. So now whenever I pull those items in, it is going to be at that updated tax rate as what is needed for the system. Now, say I want to change this tax rate right here. Let me just choose all of those entree items. I'm going to do this bulk edit. And I'm going to change the tax rate for all of those to what is my current rate. All right. So it is very easy to make that change in the system, but just a heads up for how that works, whenever you're pulling in those tax rates. Again, in my specific example, I'm not putting prices on these pieces, so it's not as necessary, but it's just an example of how those tax rates and how those tax profiles work and why that category is important. So if you're using those categories, go broad. They are great to use for managing a few pieces there. Okay. Now we have pulled in for our entrees and our sides. I'm going to give you a quick look at what this looks like on the portal. People ask me all the time for what does it look like when other people put proposals together? So it's just using this as an excuse. So for here are my menu selections. I did that as a section just so I can put instructions overall. Then I've got my entrees and I'm telling them choose two. Right now you can see my pricing, but I'll change that. Then I move down into my venue and catering package. That's really where the pricing is going to be. Then you move down into the floral and planning and rental. So it just kind of gives you a look. I can change those entree items to be centered. I'm going to do that really quickly. All right, click save. And then let's do it here. And click save. Okay. Let's just give it a quick check so we can see what it looks like. There we go. Oh, it kept my price on there. So I need to get that price off. But it will allow you to kind of like work on those, change them to look however you want them to look in the system. Feel free to work around with those, play around with those with what's a good display for you. Okay. But one thing that we're going to be looking at now is going to be staffing. So say I've got this venue and catering package, but I need to include staffing into that. What I'm going to do is I'm going to click on this drop down and I'm going to add a staff line item right here. Okay. I'm going to call this as my staffing. I'm going to say bartender, chef, and 5 service personnel. 5 service team members. Okay. I've got my staffing here. If I click expand, let me open that up. Okay. I can go in here and I can build out my staffing. What staffing does, it gives you a quick way to build out the people that you need for this event. And so you're not having to do all the math and manual calculations and everything to build out the staffing. I'm going to go in here and I'm going to add my chef right here. And I just need one of those. And I'm going to say I probably need him from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. Okay. So it gives me a cost for his participation. Then here I'm going to have a bartender, and I'm probably going to need him from 5 p.m. to 9 p.m. for this event. That gives me a price for my bartender. And then I'm also going to need some service staff. Let's probably say 5 of them here. And we're going to say I think 4 p.m. to 9 p.m. probably is a good estimation. So we've get all of those roles there to put together. It is going to show us exactly what we need to do here, right? Now, in here for my markup profile, I'm going to go for a 1x markup, but it's going to show me, okay, now I need to charge 1900 for those staff members. I can see that there. That's the cost for having those members like prepare and work on this event. So it's going to fill that in for me there. All right. Now, with your staffing, you can also see a breakdown over here of anybody that you have added to the event, how many costs on the pricing and all of that. That kind of goes into that. So that's the staffing item. That's an add-on. If you want to take advantage of that right now during our webinar series, we are doing to where you can try out any of our add-ons for free. No charge, just a trial. If you'd like to use any of those, just let us know. We're happy to add them in there. Okay. Next, what we're going to work on that I want to get added in there is going to be some rental items. So I'm going to go down here to our rentals section. I did build out a rentals section. What we can do with the rentals, I'm going to click right here where it says import from catalog. I'm going to clear my filters. I know that I need to get a bar. We've got this black mobile bar. I also know that I want to get these linens, and I want to get some chargers. What do we got in this system? Okay, some gold chargers. I can pull those items right there from that import from catalog. It makes it really easy to just add in the items that I want right there into the proposal, right? And then from here, I can see what we've got. Now, something just changed on the screen. We might have some people that do have rentals and they immediately clocked it. What just changed on the screen? Does anybody know? Anybody know what just happened on the screen when I pulled in those rental items? Okay, I'm going to tell you the answer. We got an overbooking warning. We got something that's telling us of these items that we pulled in, something is we are already over inventory for that day. I'm going to click on this overbooked rentals right here. I can see this black mobile bar. I've got 3 in inventory, but for this day right now, I've already booked 5 of them. So I am too short. I need 2 more in order to fulfill that obligation for that day. There's a couple of things that you can do here. Maybe your inventory is not updated. You can edit that, make sure it's updated for your current correct quantity of these items that you have. For some things, maybe it doesn't matter how many. The black mobile bar, that's a pretty big item. You may not just buy more of those willy-nilly, but for other items, say it was the chargers that was overbooked, maybe you need 20 more. That's fine. You'll order 20 more chargers. It's totally fine. So you may just ignore the overbooking warning. But that gives you that immediate alert to let you know, hey, heads up, that item that you booked, you are already over inventory for that item. It keeps you in check for what you're looking for. Okay? Now, something that we talked about last week, I'm going to do it again this week, is for the items that are customer specific or guest count specific, you can actually link those. I'm going to go in here and I'm just going to link that to my guest count right there. Because if I come back later and they say, oh, actually, we forgot about 20 people or something, you can go in here and change your guest count. Instead of 215, let's do 250. And it's going to update my proposal. You see it updating on the back end over here. It's updating my cocktail hour, it's updating my menu, and it's updating my gold chargers. So immediately those updates are happening everywhere that you have that number integrated into the system that's there. Okay. Now for the rentals over here, you also have this place where you can see all of the items that you have for rentals. Those can be kind of hidden sometimes, but in this rentals page, And there are more features and functionalities that's coming to this page where you can check them in, check them out from this page. So there's some exciting things that are coming. Something else that is important with rentals is we have a rentals range report. We're not going to talk about that until we jump into the reporting in just a few weeks. But that rentals range report will let you see, like, we've got people that will look 3 months ahead and they'll say, what do I need to order so that I make sure that we have enough for the next 3 months? You can look ahead and look at all of the items that you may already be overbooked for and go ahead and get those orders in so that you're not caught unaware. People always used to tell me, you never forget when you are overbooked on your rentals, when you're overbooked on those mobile bars and you just can't go to the store and buy one of those. It's not something that you can just get more of. You want to make sure that you're prepared for those events that are coming your way. Okay? Um, Last thing right here that I want to talk about is just a reminder. If you are building out items here in the proposal, if you're doing something, maybe I want to say, okay, I've got this grilled salmon. I don't actually want it with the lemon dill sauce. I'll just do with like a butter sauce, something just a little bit different. I'll put something a little bit different on there, customizing it. You want to save that for the future? Go over here and click Save Item to Catalog. That will allow you to save your work so that for the future, you can pull that in again into an event. You're not doing double work. Just makes it really easy for you to save those items and re-pull them into the proposal. Okay, right? Now, something that I want to look at briefly um, is going to be recipes. Okay. We're not going to go too deep into this, but I want to talk about my top tip for building out recipes in the system. If you want to talk further about recipes, we're going to send out a link in the follow up email where you can set up a one-on-one time. Usually it's with me where we can walk through that process for you. What would it look like to integrate managing your recipes within Curate? Because that usually changes on a case by case basis. So if you want to set up something and go deeper, you can. For now, we're just going to do something very surface level to kind of give you a couple of tips for how that would work. Um, right here on this herb roasted chicken breast, what you would do is I can click add recipe right here. On my component list, I don't have these things added, so I'm just going to add them in here really quickly. So I'm going to say chicken breast. That's what I'm going to add as a component, and I'm going to add new item. And then it's going to ask you, what do you want this category to be? Food, of course. Um, how the big thing that you want to know is how do you buy this item? Okay. I'm going to say I buy this item like 8 chicken breasts per container. All right. I'm just going to leave that purchase unit blank. And then it says, how much do you spend on those 8 chicken breasts in that container? Okay. I'm going to go ahead and just say $8. That's how much I spend on those 8 chicken breasts right there. Okay. Of course, I just clicked exit instead of save. You can do that one more time. Chicken breast, 8 chicken breasts per container. I spend $8. I'm going to do a category of food. All right, I'm going to click save. So I've got that item in there. Let me do cream of chicken. I'm sure you guys do much more elaborate things, but I'm just going to make up something really quickly. I'm going to do cream of chicken and put that in there. And then I'm going to say that I buy. Maybe you have a special a can of this that you really like. I'm going to say that I buy that in 24 cans. Okay. And then I spend $17 on that. Whatever. You have those items that you're going to pull this in. My main tip for building out recipe is you want to build the recipes in the smallest amount that you would serve these items. So you may say the smallest service that I would build is for 10 people. So that's what I would build it out in. Serves 10. That's what I would build the recipe for. So if your chicken breasts, maybe in this case it serves 8 because we buy chicken breasts in 8. So I'm going to build that out. I'm going to say I need 8 chicken breasts for this item. For the soup, I maybe need two of those that's in there. So what that does is it will build that out. It's going to give me an estimated cost. It's going to build out my recipe cost. The main reason that people like to do recipes in Curate, though, the main reason is because it will pull up a shopping list for you. That is the main reason. So, whenever you're done, whenever you're moving on, you're ready to prepare this and actually produce this event, it's going to pull up a shopping list and it's going to say how many chicken breasts do you need, how many cans of cream of chicken soup, how many salmon fillets do you need, how much butter do you need. It's really going to go into detail for all of those things that you actually need instead of spending hours putting those things together. So that will be the level that we go over that on, just putting it out there that it is possible to do it in this system. um, this usually is dependent on you and how you your service style, all of those things kind of go into that. Feel free to set up a time for us to talk through that together of how it would apply accurately to you, because it really can be a time saver. Okay. Okay, we're going to move on to the actual production piece. So a couple of tips for the production pieces is leaving notes for your team, preparing some things for your team. There's several places in this system where you can leave notes and share things with your team. Some very simple things that you may want, ways to kind of help your team manage your team. Some very simple things would be adding what we call an internal line item. So I know that I need some carts in order to carry this stuff. So whenever we're taking these to that event, I'm going to need 2 carts actually to carry that there. I'm also going to need some chafing dishes. I think it's like this, chafing dishes. Oh, no S, just a C. Chafing dishes, and you might say, okay, I need 10 of those, and you might see, I need chafers, and I need 20 of those. These are things that I need to take to this event, but I don't necessarily want my customer to see. I'm going to click edit right here and I'm going to change those to internal line items. So now those items will show up on my prints, but they are not customer facing. It just ensures that my team knows we need to get these things and we need to take them to this event. All right. That's one thing that will help you with your production right there. The other thing that could help you with your production um, would be maybe on this smoked barbecue brisket, you want to put a reminder, needs to be prepared 3 days prior to event date. So in this case, start on February 25th. So you might want to put a note for your team on here. It pulls it out, it will call it out. This is what an internal production note is going to call it out on that sheet so that you can see that whenever you're pulling your print for that event. And this can be anything that you need to put in there for your team. I'm just trying to come up with examples of what I see people use it for. But you can put anything in there that can help your team actually get ready for that, for those items that's there. Okay. Those are places when you're in here, those are going to be line item specific. All right. Now, the next places are going to be in this overview. See how I clicked on that overview right there and I can see some information that's right here. I'm actually going to go back out and let's do it from out here. Okay, so I'm doing the Smith and Richards wedding. So I'm going to click on this slide out right here. In this slide out, this is a great place where you can enter more information about this event and make it more present for your team. So even in the time leading up to this event, you can have this to be a central place that you can have information about your event. Down here, right here on this description box, this is a box that your team can see, but this will also push to your Google Calendar. Now, this is a top tip of a way that I see people use this description box. If you are using the Google Calendar integration and you want a quick way to jump into that event from that Google Calendar, whenever you're looking at your Google Calendar, something that you can do is go into this personalize and go down to project workroom link. You can embed that in the description. You can also embed the customer portal link. Those two things, if you save those in your description right there, that will allow you to just click either into the proposal itself or at the customer facing version from your Google Calendar. So it's a quick way that you can just jump into your event. Another piece to build on that, if you do it in your template, whenever you duplicate your template, that's going to already be there. You don't have to do it on a case by case basis. All right. The other one is going to be in the production notes. Now, these ones only show up on your prints. These are going to be things, it could be service idea, things for your team. It could be notes for your kitchen. It could be um, just anything. It could be anything to kind of help your team prepare actually for this event. So it could be, let's think of a few things. So maybe let's do uh, service notes. All servers should wear white collared shirts and black pants. And I'm actually going to bold it. You can do a lot with it. And maybe I'm just going to do it to be left aligned so that it will draw more attention to it. You'll see whenever we jump onto the print. But that's a place where you can put some notes about the event, either for your kitchen, for the team, it doesn't matter. The people that are actually producing it, whatever. You can put those production notes right there. Another place is going to be this notes tab up here. If I go into to this notes tab, I can create a new note, and it could say something like spoke with the team, and we will, or maybe let's do this, like Amelia changed her guest count to 250, right? Just put any sort of notes, anything that you want to track about this event over time, anything that you want to track about this event over time, you can do that here. It's really nice because it's visible on all team members. So they can, if they're trying to get updated on what's happening on this event, they can jump to this notes tab and just quickly see that. It is going to have the name of the person that left that note along with a date and a timestamp on there as well. One more piece here that is really helpful is this activity log. Down here, you can see changes that were made to the proposal. You can see all kinds of stuff that will show up here as you're working through the event. Okay. All right. Okay, I think that wraps up my side. I'm going to pass it over to Brooklyn. Brooklyn is going to walk us through whenever you're actually getting ready to produce this event, the prints, as well as tips and tricks that you can use on the catalog for this event.
Yeah, thanks, Shannon. Let me share, and then we're gonna dive into prints first. Just one moment. Alrighty, okay, so to start us off with the prints, I did want to just point out there are two different areas kind of where you can access prints. It just depends on kind of your workflow or how you like to view them. So if we're in an event itself, you can actually get to your prints by clicking into this overview button up at the top. And then there'll be this little three dots menu that will pop down that will say view prints. So if you want to just look at this, you're in the workroom, you only want to have a view of this individual event, I would say go with that. That'll give you access while you're already in this space. However, a lot of our curators like to generate prints in bulk. And so as Shannon was kind of showing some options with editing, there in bulk, what we can do is, let me find the event that we were just working on. I'm going to select this one. If there's additional events that you want to pull at the same time, you'll notice our bulk actions bar pulls up at the bottom. So we can just select a few. I'm going to pull these two together. And then actually I'll grab this one too. So I'm going to grab these three events and then I'm going to click view prints. This will generate an event print for me. It will preload as the event overview with your selections over here on the left-hand side. So this is just kind of how we have it formatted as your general event overview. However, as Shannon was noting throughout, there's lots of ways to personalize and customize this based off of how you like to work best. So, one thing that we see a lot of folks do is they will grab our recipe sheet. And so these are kind of your, again, just general prints that you have. And then if you go into click into any of those, you can actually start editing these check boxes over on the left-hand side. And then that's going to start building a custom print that you can save. So with custom prints, you can see here with my recipe sheet, this gives a good breakdown of all those different recipes that we have on the event. Again, if you're pulling multiple events, it'll separate them. You can see up at the top, there's the different event names. So with this one in particular, I want to point out too, there's that production note here that you can see. Some of these are the ones that Shannon added in on our event. So those are all coming through. But we also want to, maybe we want to take out the contacts. That just kind of takes up some extra space. We don't want that to get in the way. So we can remove our contacts. Maybe on this particular one, we want to take away the photos. Sometimes those are helpful to have. It just, again, it's preference. Sometimes people like them, sometimes it takes up too much ink. We want to just get rid of that. So I'm going to go into my order details, and then I'm going to go down here to image and take that off. So you'll notice that photo disappeared. And then maybe we want to also change up the layout. So it defaults to this two column layout. Some folks really like that because it kind of squeezes more onto your page for printing. Others prefer it to be more of a single column layout where it goes all the way across and kind of separates it a bit differently. So again, these are just preferences. Once you have your edits made over here along the left side, what we can do is we can go over here to save the print. So this is a great way to kind of save and then reuse these to save time in the future. So I'm going to just say this is Brooklyn's recipe sheet here. Once I have this saved, it's now in the system and it saves with all of my preferences. So if I go back to event overview and then I can find my sheet down here and then I click that, it's going to repopulate just how I had it saved. So definitely recommend utilizing this tool in your
Yeah.
account so that you can just have quick access to these, designated views of how you like to use your prints. Um, Before we hop out of prints and go on to the catalog, I also want to point out that we do have an add-on feature. I know Shannon kind of touched on this early on, that we have some free trials of our add-ons during our webinar series. So one of those add-ons included would be called labels. And so this is really cool, especially for our folks that like to stay extra organized with all their different line items of events. This is kind of generated towards where you can buy those sticky labels and put them in your printer. And then this is going to align with those label sheets in your printer so that you can just peel them off and stick them on your products. And so kind of just to go over what all this information is. This number at the beginning is your event ID. Then you're going to have the event name with the event date and then the line item itself. So since we pulled several different events, it's just going to clarify for us. We have the 1097 event, then we go into the 1099 and then the 1100. So just keeps everything nice and organized. That way, as you're in production mode, you can just put these on different buckets or containers or folders and keep all your information with these particular items in the right place and nothing gets mixed up.
I see people put them on their chafing dishes. So if you're prepping something in the kitchen, you're throwing foil on that, you're either putting it into a warmer, you're putting it in to deliver, you can't exactly see what that item is. So they'll get those labels and throw that label on there. So then you can get quick counts whenever you're prepping the truck to go. Do we have everything? Check, check, check. Those labels really help. Instead of handwriting those or putting it on duct tape or, you know how people are, but those labels can really help in those cases.
Yeah, that's a great tip, Shannon. Yeah, I could see why that would be helpful. Yeah, especially if all the food is covered and prepared and
Yeah.
you can't really quite see at a glance. The labels can really kind of just add that extra clarity and prevents I remember talking to folks and people are like, no one can read my chicken scratch. So it just makes things really nice and clear for everyone on the team. There's going to be no mistakes on what those items are. So alrighty, so I guess uh going away from our prints, I do want to kind of dive into the catalog here to kind of wrap us up. So the catalog, as you all are probably familiar with, there's different areas of the catalog. We have products, components, rentals, and staffing. There's different ways you can update your catalog. One way to save time would be to utilize that we do have these bulk import options for you, whether that's bulk importing on your products or your components. Or even on your rentals tab. So I'm going to just click into our components and we'll kind of walk through this flow of how you could, use this tool to help load up your catalog very quickly versus having to manually add them all individually. So if you're on your components tab, you will click into bulk import. This is going to launch our bulk editor tool and it'll kind of guide you through. It gives you very clear examples and don't worry, it gives you a preview before you just launch them all into your account. So you can choose a file. And so if you have your own CSV file or file that you like to use with your products, maybe your menu. I'm going to show this one as an example, but I'm going to upload this as our CSV. It's going to confirm and continue, kind of ask you, are these lined up with the columns correctly? So this would be correct. As it goes into the next, it can let you know if there's any kind of
I think go back one, Brooklyn. Go back the column didn't choose correctly. Yes, yeah. They choose the top column.
oh,
There you
yes,
go.
sorry. We
I don't know
want
why I
to
chose the second one, but it doesn't
I think
matter.
I accidentally clicked it and I didn't catch it. Sorry.
Mm.
Yes, thank you for doing that. So, okay, so once you kind of confirm that, it'll go into the next step here, and then it'll give you a little warning if something does not, if something is unmatched. So you can always make edits to this. You can match this field, or it says click to add as an empty column if you want to do that. So I'm going to just do that for now. But all of these up here, we can, expand them if you'd like to. And then once you confirm that it's set up the way that you'd like, it's going to give you this preview here. Um, Again, depending on how you want to organize this, it will allow you to do that. And then you would just finish with your preview. So this just allows you to go in and upload very easily your items. I'm not going to upload this because we did it earlier. So I'm just going to X out. But that's something to note if you want to add them. In addition to that, if you already have kind of your catalog built out the way you want, but you want to make some edits to it, you can also have your catalog exported out of the Curate system. So if you go to your settings and then export down here, you can actually export your products, your components, or your rentals. This would download it to you as a file that you can, upload into Excel or Google Sheets, however you like to work. And then you can manage and make edits to that. And then you can actually send that back to our team and then we will reload and update that for you. So that way, it's not duplicating anything in your account by using that bulk import tool. This is going to be a way for you to update your catalog by kind of managing it through an export, and then we would assist you with that. If that's something you want to explore, please reach out to our team and we can assist with that. But those are kind of some ways that you can add quickly or make edits quickly. You can also manage bulk updates through our bulk editor tool. So maybe it's not that you want to update your entire catalog. Maybe there's just a handful of items that you want to update. So let me just scroll through here. Maybe let's look at these are very floral. So I'm gonna just click these just for our time purposes. But these are our anemones, so we can pretend that they're food related. Maybe we want to pretend that it's Shannon got me thinking about soup, so maybe we can pretend that these are our soups. And so we can edit these. and then it's going to ask you to bulk edit on the side. This little side panel will open. You can either update the component category here. So maybe we want to update these all to floral. Maybe our cost has changed. See, these are all set to $22 per 10 items. Maybe I want to update that and say that that has gone up now to $25. And then so I can hit save. It'll update everything for me. You can see those just change. So that's another way to kind of speed up your process and quickly adjust any pricing categories, as Shannon mentioned earlier, very helpful. And then we can also kind of navigate our catalog through some different ways. You can use filters and tags as well. So we do have a filter up at the top of your components. If you're a multi-location, you can filter by branch. Those categories, as we talked about, can be very helpful for visualizing kind of very quickly different categories that you might want to place on these items. And then we also have tags. So we see tags used in a variety of ways. Here's some examples we have, is it a gluten-free item? Maybe we see folks associate tags to different vendors, as Shannon mentioned earlier, with like shopping lists and utilizing that with recipe building. If you're using kind of that flow, you could definitely tag kind of where you're sourcing these items, and then that will help group them together as well. Maybe there's different menus. We see a lot of caterers have very seasonal menus. You could
Right.
utilize tags for that as well, fall 2025 into winter 2025, and then spring 2026. And then that kind of helps group your items as well as a quick way to kind of associate them together as you're, kind of exploring and trying to quickly find what you need. And then, of course, we have the good old search bar. So you can always search and find by name. And so that's also a tool that you could use across all these tabs here, rentals, components, and products.
Yeah, that is one thing on the products tab. So a lot of caterers, venue companies, they're very heavily use the products, these saved products that they have there. It's a very heavy piece. And in that products tab, you can put different tags over here. So Brooklyn, if you want to click on the tags over there on the side, that's how you can just quickly see those. The example that Brooklyn gave, it is super common. You could say like spring 2026 menu. Maybe those are going to be items so that whenever you're pulling those in into a proposal, you can search by that tag, filter down to that selection, and just really easily choose the ones that you want to push into that proposal. So, yeah, that's a great example too. Italian night, these are Italian items that we would add on this one. So, just makes it really easy. Those tags are really great for like pushing those things through. Thank you, Brooklyn.
Yes, absolutely.
Awesome.
I think
Awesome.
that covers it. If you
Okay.
all have any questions, please don't hesitate to chat us as we kind of wrap up our webinar. But um, hopefully, all those tips and tricks kind of help you speed up your process.
Yeah. So this week we looked at those production elements. So really utilizing those things in your proposal. All of the things that you can do in the proposal, they're kind of connected to other things. I call the proposal is like the core of our system, really. If you can do the things in the proposal, everything else just kind of falls into place. But we hit on staffing and rentals, ways that you can display that data or manage your line items. We talked a little bit about recipes. Feel free to set up a time if you want to explore that more. Talk through production notes, ways that you can use that, as well as prints in the catalog. We will be sending out a follow up email, hopefully a little bit later today, with some resources in there as well. So just keep an eye out for that. If you would like to add any of those add-ons to just try it while we're in this webinar series, just to give you a chance to experience that in your own account, just let us know. We can help get you going in there so that you can test that out, see if that's something that you would provide benefit for you. So, all right, thank you guys for joining us today, and we will see you next week for week 4. Have a great week.
Thanks, everyone. See you
Bye.
next week.